Welcome to a Faithful God podcast. I'm your host, Tammy Rotzel, and today on the show, we're going to talk about raising our children to understand who they are, whose they are, and why they were created. So grab those earbuds and your favorite beverage and join me for today's show. Well, hey friend, how are you? Happy Wednesday, welcome back. So listen, this is my first time recording in well over a month, at least podcast episodes anyway, because I try to batch them. And so it just feels a little funny just being in front of the camera again. But hey, so excited to have you here. Get my sip of chai. So here's the thing, friends. By the way, if you love coffee, chai, tea, and you don't have an amber mug yet, you totally need to get one. Like never, ever, ever will your coffee or your chai, for me, go cold again. And it's the perfect temperature to drink. And it's like life-changing, I swear, right? So anyway, listen, I'm about to tick somebody off today. I woke up this morning with, and I know this is totally a God thing because I haven't even been thinking about this. I don't know, in the last few days and last weeks. I don't know. I haven't been thinking about this or anything, and where it's been laying very heavy on my mind. So this tells me that this is something someone needs to hear. But I will tell you, there were several times when this morning I'm like, God, are you sure you want me to talk about this? I don't talk about parenting, except for raising our children up, right? And that's what we're going to, or raising them up. I didn't mean raising them right. I meant raising them up to be children of God. That's what I'm trying to say. So listen, before we get into it, wherever you are listening, be sure to subscribe to the show. That way, then you will not miss a single episode. And the other thing is if you are watching on YouTube, I would love it if you would give me a big thumbs up, leave a comment below, whatever. That just really helps us get this out there. And so let's get started, shall we? My friends, we are raising a nation full of temper tantrum throwing babies. I know, I said it. Can you believe it? I said it. So listen, if I just hit a nerve, what I want you to do right now is I want you to pause this and I want you to go. Don't shut it off completely. Just pause it. And I want you to go to God and ask God for his wisdom, his clarity through this, and for him to reveal anything, any truths or nuggets from this that you need to go and implement or consider, think about, pray on, right? Because he's the one. Not me, but it's his truths that we need to stand on. Not mine, but his. Okay? So if you need to, pause it, say a prayer, ask for wisdom, ask God to open your eyes, your ears, and your heart to what he has to teach you in all of this today. So listen, can we just, let's just talk about participation trophies. I don't know why this came up to me today, this morning, as I was getting myself ready and kind of preparing for this, but let's talk about participation trophies for just a moment, right? So I'm going to give a couple of examples. And actually, before I even talk about that, let's talk about this. So, I mean, our world, our children, man, there's a massive identity crisis going on right now. And our children are identifying as cats, as dogs, as unicorns, whatever they are identifying as. I know some schools, they even fought to have litter boxes put in the schools. I think that is absolutely absurd. This is insanity. Just telling you, this is my feeling on it. That is absolutely ridiculous. But we also have kids that are, they're not identifying as either male or female, and all of the things that are going on with them. Let me say to you first and foremost, parents with young kids right now, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've said to my husband, I'm so glad my children are no longer in school, that they are no longer, because let's face it, they don't always listen to us as much as they listen to their peers. And now we've got social media, we've got YouTube, we've got all of the things, which are phenomenal things, mind you, when they're used well, when they're used correctly for the good things, but there are so many bad things that are going on. Last night I was scrolling through. I love TikTok. I'll be honest with you. I do. I just love it. I love dancing. I'm a girl that loves to see people dance, just fun, dances and stuff like that. So I'll scroll through there, and some of them I crack up laughing at. There are a few things, although not very much anymore, because obviously the algorithm knows what I like to see, and I don't like seeing some of the stuff out there, but there are some vulgar things out there, and these are the things that our children, this is what's influencing our children right now. And so we really have to have this conversation. So I'm going to talk to you about, or kind of talk about just a little bit, the participation trophies. And I promise I'm going to wrap this around for you. And so just kind of bear with me. I had two boys. If you've been following me for a while, you know that, two grown boys. And they played baseball and football year round. Football wasn't year round, but baseball was year round. Oh, that's a topic for another day, let me tell you. Not a fan. But anyway, baseball year round. We slept, like, in my car, there was always either baseball equipment and gear or football equipment and gear. My oldest was the catcher, so we had even, that much more. There are always stinky cleats in the back of the car. Lord have mercy. We'd have to pull those things out and keep them outside, kind of thing. But anyway, so always grew up raising the boys. It was sports 24/7, 7 days a week. And so, and again, I won't get into my soapbox about that, because no one needs to hear that. But anyway, so the boys would get trophies. And then when they were younger, they would get participation trophies, right? At the end of the year, all the parents would come together and we'd pool our money, have to donate, here, let me go ahead and chip in. And so we can give our child a participation trophy at the end of the year, even if they came in dead last. Let me tell you, my friend, this was just, when we're doing things like this with our children, we are missing the boat, my friends. When we give participation trophies just for being on a team, we are doing our children a huge disservice. Now, let me back up for a second. I'm going to come back to that, but let me back up for a second. Along with all of the equipment that was in the back of the car were participation trophies that my kids had. You see, when they got a participation trophy, and their team didn't come in first or second place, they didn't want it. It stayed in the car. The trophies that they brought into the house and put in their rooms on the shelves to display proudly were those first and second place trophies. Maybe first and second place. And also, like the MVP trophies. That was something to be proud of. Now, let me let you know, or let me help you understand that I get the premise behind it. We're trying to teach our children that they are not losers, right? But there's a big difference between being a loser and losing the season, coming in last place. There's a big difference. Coming in last place doesn't make you a loser. Your team just didn't do well that year. You don't get an attaboy, hey, guess what? No, because see, what we're doing is we are doing our children a disservice when we are giving them things such as this. Maybe in your life, it's not a participation trophy. Maybe it's something else, but we are doing our children a disservice. We are not teaching them how to cope with adversity in their life. Because let's face it, you and I both know, we talk about this all the time. In this life, we will have trouble, right? We are not immune to trouble. We are not immune to mean people. We are not immune to just the trials and challenges in life. And if we are coddling our children, if we are saying it's okay, or we are going, in front of a teacher because our child did something they weren't supposed to do, and the teacher calls us in, and we're not backing up the teacher, but instead we're coddling our children, we're not teaching them how to cope, how to pick themselves up, lean into God to find their worth, right? It's not about calling them losers. I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. We want to make sure, of course, we don't want to, our children aren't losers, right? They're not losers. But when we're doing things such as going before and standing up to a teacher and saying, you know what? My child didn't do this, my child didn't do that, or what have you, or getting these participation trophies, or coddling them through the whole thing, we are doing a disservice to our children, and we are not teaching them how to cope, how to process, how to move through these difficult times. My friends, suicide, before I even say this, I want you to know that I'm not pointing fingers, that we as a community need to step up and do better. Childhood suicide. I don't even know the stats, to be honest with you. I don't know what the stats are. It is heart-wrenching. It is heartbreaking. And I'm not laying blame, but the problem as a society is we've got to stop giving everybody a participation trophy and instead teach them how to process what they are going through, the loss they just went through, they don't like a teacher. I can remember there was one time that I did have to move my son, my youngest, out of a classroom. And I'm telling you, it was a big, giant fight, myself and a couple other parents, because of some really bad things this teacher was doing. But something we've taught our boys is, you don't care for the teacher, you don't care for the coach, too bad. You're going to get out in life and you're not going to care for your boss. You're going to get out in life and you're not going to care for whatever situation. There are going to be times. And if we are constantly coddling our children, it's not doing them any good. We've got to raise them to be good Christian children. We've got to raise them to understand who they are, whose they are, and why they were created. And we're missing the mark, friends. We're falling short. We are failing our children. So Proverbs 22:6 teaches us this. It says, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Friends, it's us. We've got to, in fact, as a matter of fact, in the Grow Your Faith community this month, we are actually talking about the priorities of God. And we're going to get into this coming week, we're going to get into the lesson about our family. We've got to raise our children, yes, to see the things that, bullying is awful. We've got to, but we've got to help them process and move forward. And believe me, again, I don't mean to point fingers. I don't mean to blame any parent, because man, there are some really harsh things going on. But this is where we've got to step up, friends. This is where the rubber meets the road, and we have to be very mindful of what the kids are learning from. What's training them? Is it social media? Is it YouTube? Is it their peers at school? Lord knows, my gosh, we are in just this. Again, I can't even imagine raising a school-age child right now, and all the things that the teachers are wanting to take out of the school, and not just the teachers, administrators wanting to take out of the school, and things they're wanting to put into the school. It is just heinous. I can't believe that you have to go through that. So parent, grandparent, my hat's off to you. I know this is hard. So this is what I'm doing today, is I want to give you the encouragement you need to say, you know what? I need to remember to stand strong when the rest of the world is falling apart. I need to remember and commit to teaching my children how worthy they are in God. That it doesn't matter if they lost a game. They're not a loser. They lost. Okay, let's teach them the skills to pick themselves up. And this just came to my head, but listen to this. I understand, parents. I do. When you're on the baseball field or the football field, you're in the stands, right, watching your kids, and your kid makes an error on the field, and it costs them the game. Holy moly, that's hard. Holy moly, that's impossible. Holy moly, they are so upset, so broken. But guess what? That's where we have to step in and lead them. They're not losers, right? They made a mistake. And we've got to teach them how to work through that. We've got to teach them how to work through adversity. Because when the going gets tough, when they are adults, if we aren't teaching them, if all we've done is give them participation trophies all throughout the years, they're not going to know how to handle the difficult situation they're in. So if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I absolutely love the Book of Mysteries. It is my favorite. I'll put a link in the show notes for you. It is my favorite devotional by far. I learned so much from Jonathan Cahn is the author. But so in today's reading, isn't that funny? You know, God just really wraps everything up with a bow, doesn't he? I just love it. When I woke up this morning and I felt this on my heart, I'm thinking, and I was like, Lord, I don't talk about this kind of stuff. Is this really what you want me to talk about? And then, of course, I opened my devotional today, and yeah. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you, and I won't go through the whole thing, but he's talking about how in 2 Thessalonians, which I'm going to read a couple of passages to you in just a moment, but he's talking about how when the world is going away from the word, right? And let's, oh my gosh. Like right now, Satan, in fact, in one of my social media posts today, I said, you know what? It seems like the world is going crazy. It seems like Satan has the upper hand right here, right? It seems like we can't see God in all of this, right? This huge identity crisis, this, you know, all the stuff, all the hatred, the ugliness, all of the things. And we get, we get so bogged down because we've got the far left wanting to give participation trophies for everybody. We've got the far right that is so rigid that we aren't like showing in love or walking in love. It's all about rules, right? There's got to be a happy medium, right, friends? There has to be a happy medium here where we are walking. And let's talk about this. It's when we're walking in alignment with God, right? And we've got to teach our children that. Like you and I know, right? And I'll get into this in just a bit in a moment, but you and I know that our kids aren't going to listen to us as much as they listen to social media, as much as they listen to their peers, as much as, they're on YouTube, gaming systems, all the things that are going on. And so we've got to show, right? What is that quote? I'm not even sure, but how we have to, people want to see a sermon, not hear a sermon. I think it's something along those lines. In other words, we've got to find a way. And here's the thing. You and I both know as parents, what works for one child isn't going to work for another child. Man, that's hard, isn't it? Especially with all the other things. We're trying to raise our children. We're trying to, work, and we're, keeping the house up, all the things that we have to do. It's hard. I know. But we've got to allow our children to see us walking close to God, to see us aligning ourselves with his will for us. We've got to show our children that unconditional love. Gosh, when they make mistakes, that unconditional love when they come home and say, I don't identify as a male or a female. Hey friends, I can't wrap my head around that. There's a lot of things that I will say, oh, okay, I get that. I don't agree with it, but I don't get it. And this particular thing, I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. I'm having a hard time with it. So I don't want to say that this is easy. I don't want you to hear that I am condemning you if this is what you're going through right now. I am not, my friend, sister. I am standing in prayer with you. And as a matter of fact, if you're going through this right now, I want you to send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook or an email, Tammy@footprintsofinspiration.com. Let me know, and I will stand in prayer with you. I don't have the psychological education to help you walk through it, other than I know the power of prayer, right? I know the power of prayer. But anyway, I want to read to you just a little bit from the Book of Mysteries. And he's talking about how people are going away from the word, right? Which is what's happening right now in our world in every area, right? They're going away from the world. And this is what he says. He says, in the age of departure from the word you must hold all the stronger. You must commit to hold all the more strongly to the word, the faith, and the stand. Did you hear that word in there, my friends? Commit. That requires, an action, right? We say all the time, faith in God, trusting God is not a feeling, it's a choice. In this world, when everything seems so out of control, whether it's personal circumstances, whether it's the craziness that's going on around us, this is where we have to commit to stand on what we know to be true about God. We have to commit to our children, to showing them how loved they are, how worthy they are, how, where their identity lies. Their identity does not lie in whether they're a male or female, whether they are a dog or cat, or, I don't even know. Their identity lies in the fact that they are a child of God. And they've got to understand that. We've got to stand right now, coming together. Even me, who has grown boys, I'm talking to us as a community, my friend. We've got to stand together and commit ourselves to the word, to getting into the word. And we need to have our children see us doing that. If you're not getting into the word, do that. Wake up a few minutes earlier each day. 10 minutes, 15 minutes earlier. Sit down at the kitchen table. Let your child see that that's the way you're starting your day. So in 2 Thessalonians in chapter 2. Oh my goodness. So chapter 2 talks about not being surprised at what Satan is doing, not being surprised that people are going from the word, right? They're going from the word and to and following Satan. I mean, right now it feels like Satan is winning. And so see, that's when we have to commit, right? What Jonathan Kahn said there, we've got to take an action. We've got to commit. We've got to choose to trust that even though it feels like it, we know that feelings aren't facts. And so we're going to choose to stand on the word of God. And when you go into, just a couple different Bible verses, it says, in chapter 2, verse 3, it says this, it says, don't be fooled by what they say, for that day will not come until there is a great rebellion. And what was happening is in that verse before, they were talking about, oh, God is coming, he must be coming now, right? We hear that all the time. And we've been hearing that. I remember my parents and aunts and uncles and grandparents sitting around the table when I was younger and them talking about, oh, the day is near, Jesus is coming. And hey, here's the thing, he is coming. But what this is saying is there's going to be a lot of things that are going on that are going to make you feel like that. And we have no idea when he is coming, right? And so that's why it says that. But it says he will exalt himself, this means Satan, and defy everything that people call God and every object of worship. He will even sit in the temple of God, claiming that he himself is God. And that's what's happening right now with our children, right? Satan is so good at what he does. And he is getting into the minds of our children. But when we go down in verses 13 through 17, we learn that believers still have to stand strong. And in 2:15, it says this, dear brothers and sisters, stand firm and keep a strong grip on the teaching we passed on to you, both in person and by letter. In other words, okay, this feels impossible. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to walk this out with my child. But I'm going to choose to stand strong, right? This is something else we talk about in the Grow Your Faith community, is we're actually taking the word and learning how to apply it to our life, not just reading it and saying, oh yeah, where that scripture falls on deaf ears. No, we are actually taking the word and applying it. So this is what we have to do, my friends. We have to stand firm on what we know. We know Satan is running rampant, but we also know, more importantly, that even though it doesn't seem like God is working, even though we can't always see him working, we know that he is still working, right? We know that we serve a God who is the same in good times and in bad. He is the same in good times and in bad. So you friends, we've got to stand firm as we walk through this with our children. We have to let them see us walking in alignment with God. We have to teach them that okay, yeah, the whole participation. This isn't about participation trophies, but that it's kind of a symbol. Whatever the participation trophy is in your child's life, we've got to stop giving participation trophies because we don't want them to feel like a loser. Of course, we don't want them to feel like a loser, but that is not solving the problem. There's a difference between being a loser and a difference between losing a season or losing a tournament or whatever. You put your child into whatever scenario that is, put that into there. We just have to change the tactic. Again, I understand the reasoning behind it, but we have to change the tactic. So friends, how do we walk this out? How do we stop giving our kids quote unquote participation trophies in an effort for them to never experience loss and pain and heartache? What do we do practically to, just to help them become adults that can handle adversity, that adults that know how to work through their troubles, their trials, their challenges? First and foremost, we pray. 1 Thessalonians 5:17 teaches us never stop praying. And that's what we do. We ask for wisdom and clarity. We ask for revelation on how to walk this out as parents. Sorry, my mouth is dry this morning. We keep on praying, right? One of the most important things we can ever ask for when it comes to prayer is wisdom, right? We want God's will for our life, for our children's life, not our own. Oh my goodness. Yeah, of course we say that, but boy, to really lay our children down before Him, man, that's a tough and humbling thing, isn't it? But if you need help with prayers, number one, stop trying to make it so complicated. Go to God and ask. Go to God and tell Him what you're feeling. Go to God and tell Him your frustrations. But there are also two books that I highly, highly recommend. Number one, I mentioned earlier, Stormy Omartian's book, The Power of the Praying, and she's got The Power of the Praying Wife, The Power of Praying for Your Children, for your adult children, for your grandchildren. Go out and get that book. I will put the link in the show notes for that. It is such a powerful book. And it really, really, when I first read The Power of the Praying Wife, it really helped strengthen my prayer walk, my prayer life for sure. The other thing is Mom's Secret Strength, which is a brand new book out by my friend myself. And she actually goes there and walks with you in prayer. Listen, this woman is amazing. She has such a tender heart for Jesus, and she knows what it's like to have to really give her children to the Lord. She actually lives in the United States, and I can't remember how long she's been separated from her children. And by I mean not that anything came between them. I don't mean that, but what I mean is Maisel lives here, and her young children live in I believe it's Uganda. Oh, I hope that's right. I think it's Uganda. Maisel, if you're listening and that's wrong, forgive me, my Lord. And by the way, send me a DM and tell me where it is you're from. So, and where your children are and your husband are. So anyway, but this woman knows how important prayer is. That, she talk about hard. Can you imagine just, seeing your children only on FaceTime, in those young years and stuff. And so Maisel knows. She knows. And so that book is phenomenal. I highly, highly recommend it. Something else I want you to keep in mind, and if you need to, I want you to write this Bible verse down, whatever you've got to do, because I want you to remember that this is, I just love the Bible and how it just teaches us. We have questions, the Bible says what to do, right? So when we have questions, when we don't know how to walk this out with our children, when we have this major identity crisis in our world right now, and these poor kids are floundering because they're just trying to get a sense of identity. They're trying to get a sense of who they are. We've got to go to God and make that ask, right? We say that all the time in this community. Make that ask. Matthew chapter 7, verses 7 and 8 says this: keep on asking and you will receive what you ask for. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the door will be open to you. For anyone who asks receives. Everyone who seeks finds. And to everyone who knocks, the door will be opened. We don't know what to do in these times. when we see our children going astray, when we see our children doing things that we know God didn't intend for them, we go to God and we make that ask. We keep on asking, we keep on seeking, we keep on knocking. And we know that when we do it earnestly, when we know that we do it with the heart of God, that we have a heart of God for our children, of his will for our children, God's going to guide us through. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. It never is. You know that, especially when it comes to our children. Man, I'm a mama bear. You can darn sure bet I am very protective of my children. But we keep falling short. Oh my Lord, I fell short so many times when my kids were growing up. So many times. And I can't even imagine having them grow up in a time where so many people so many children just really have no idea who they are, whose they are, and why they were created. They've got to understand the identity of Christ. And that's number 2. We've got to remind them, not in a preaching form, because let's face it, friends, when we preach, the doors, think about it with us. If someone's preaching at us, like in a way that is, down on them and or down on us, and you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this, immediately those walls come up, right? People want to see a sermon. They don't want to hear a sermon. Same thing with our children. Yes, but we do have to help them in a loving way. Understand that they were created for a very specific purpose in God's kingdom. And they are worthy. And they are loved unconditionally. I think right now, I've been thinking about this lately. And, Jesus right now walking this earth. Oh my gosh, I would love to be following him and just seeing how he walks through this with these children who are having such a major identity crisis, with these children who are really just so lost, with these children who feel so hopeless and that there is nothing in this life for them. I could just picture Jesus just wrapping them in his arms and holding them, comforting them. Sorry, my mouth is really dry this morning. I was just recently part of a campaign, which is still ongoing, by the way, but it was a campaign during the Super Bowl that he gets us. Jesus gets us. I think it was phenomenal to have Jesus with us at the Super Bowl. I think that was so incredible. Absolutely, it got a lot of hate because that's the way our world is, right? That's the way our world is. Satan is working. But what I saw more than that, I've got goosebumps all over just thinking about it. But what I saw more than all the hate was all the love for Jesus. And excuse me. And I just think it's so important. By the way, if you are not following them on Instagram, hop on over, follow them. It's He Gets Us. It's such a phenomenal, they have put a lot of money into this to help understand the psychology behind helping people understand who they are, whose they are, and why they were created, understanding that Jesus gets them, right? And I think now more than ever, it's just so important for our children to understand that Jesus gets them. Because if he were walking on this earth right now, he would wrap them up. Think about all the people, all the outcasts in society, I say with quotes, air quotes, all the outcasts in society that Jesus loved, right? We have to love them through it. Let me tell you, friends, as I say all the time, I am preaching right in the trenches with you because I will tell you I'm a reactionary person. And I spent a lot of my parenting years, and not that I'm finished parenting because I'm not, but a lot of those years that my kids were growing up in a very reactionary state. And I can darn sure tell you I would not handle this right. I wouldn't have done it. Maybe now, knowing what I know now and knowing how God is and how Jesus loves all of us and how I have to learn to love them through it. Yeah, I do it differently now. I wouldn't do it perfectly. But I can darn sure tell you, as those years were growing up, I would have failed miserably. I would have. So what's the third thing we need to do? The third thing we need to do is get into the Bible. And there are several different reasons for this. Number one, we need our children to see us turning to God, to see us turning to the Bible. So we need to allow them to see us doing that. Allow them to see us and witness us listening to praise and worship music. Allow them to see us, again, reading the word, praying, all of the things so that they see what happens when we are going through the hard times. We've got to stop sheltering them from even some of our hard times. Not that we have to give them every piece of information, but because we need them to see what we do in those times. What do we do, right? Something we talk about in the community all the time. We lean into God more. Do we walk it out perfectly in front of them? Absolutely not. But they need to see these coping mechanisms of praying, these coping mechanisms of, I'm not saying the right word. Coping mechanisms isn't the right word, but how to walk through adversity, how to walk through disappointment, how to walk through hurt and pain. They need to see us getting into the Bible, praying, listening to praise and worship music, so that they know how, so that we equip them with what to do when they are struggling. So we get into the Bible so that they can see what we're doing, so that we are a good example of what they should do, right? The other thing is we need that godly wisdom. And where do we get that? Yes, by praying and asking God so that he will reveal it to us, but also by understanding and learning the character of God in the Bible. That's another reason we get into the Bible for all of this, because we've got to understand the character of God. That's when we start to find that divine hope in God, because we see all the things he did in the midst of heartbreak. I mean, think about this, friends. Right now, everything that's going on in our world seems scary. It's loud, it's chaotic, but it's nothing new. You go throughout the Bible and there are things going on in there were things going on then that were completely crazy and out of control. This is nothing new. So we go to the Bible for wisdom and to learn God's character and for wisdom on how to walk this out. Right? We go to God to learn how to walk this out. And number 4, the fourth thing we need to do to help us, teach our children how to walk through adversity, how to get through disappointment, pain, heartache, loneliness, despair, all of those things. What we need to do is, friends, I'm going to shout this from the rooftops, get a good Christian counselor. And I'm not saying you have to even wait until there's a problem, because let me tell you, I really am a firm believer in everyone should be going through Christian counseling. I really am. I'm a big believer in that. And maybe not, their entire life. That's not for me to say. That's for the person. That's between the person and their counselor. But at least during seasons of their life. But you see, we've got to not only get a good Christian counselor for our children to also help them. Because let's face it, guys. Our children, when we start talking, they have that selective hearing, right? And we can be telling them something and someone else says the same thing and all of a sudden it clicks for them. So we need to get a good Christian counselor to also help them, to have them come alongside us as we're raising our children, as we're teaching them how to have these coping skills, right? And the other thing is we need to have the Christian counseling also to help us learn how to walk our children through this, right? Christian counselors see all of this stuff, friends. They are bombarded. They are bombarded with all the things that are going on in this world. And I know this for a fact. My sister works somewhere, and I'm not even going to mention the name. And it's not a counseling place, but it's a place that does help. It's kind of one aspect of some of the pain and just issues that some of us go through, all of us, adults, children, everything. And she even said a couple of weeks ago, she said, Tammy, you wouldn't believe the amount of kids that we get. We get phone calls with young kids that are just really, really struggling right now. And so, friends, we've got to get a good Christian counselor on board with them to help them maneuver this, right? Because see, what's happening, I mean, if you think about it, even when we were growing up, friends, right? Even when we were growing up, everybody wants to fit in, right? Everyone wants to feel loved and accepted. Jesus made us that way, right? We were created to desire love. The problem is this world has polluted it. This world has made us think that we need to find love and acceptance in those around us or from those around us. And that's not what he intended at all. God fulfills all of our love. God fulfills every one of our needs. And we have to teach our children this, right? We've got to teach our children this. And so when we are taking them to a counselor who can help them with this, and I apologize. I was on a train of thought and I kind of lost it there for a second. But okay, so this is nothing new, right? We've all wanted to fit in. Always. So we have some children who are really, really, truly struggling with their identity. Truly struggling, and we've got to come alongside them and help them and teach them how to walk them through this with love, right? But the other thing is there's so many, how many times did you see growing up where even though someone didn't really believe that or have those thoughts, or what am I trying to say, who are really struggling with that, we get people jumping on board, and we see this now. All these kids jumping on board the bandwagon because they just want to, make a statement. They want to be heard. And that's understandable, right? They want to be loved. They want to be accepted, all of these things. And we've got to teach them where their love and acceptance comes from, right? Hey, when did I leave work? It was over 50 years old, right? When I left the first time, and now graciously, wonderfully, I don't know what I'm saying, gloriously, I'm back one day a week at the dental office, which is so incredible. But, it took me to age 50, over 50, when I had to, I can't believe I'm telling you my age on here. But it took that understanding, because you see, my identity lied in the fact that I was a dental hygienist, and one of the best practices in my belief in the world, let alone in our community. I know that for a fact. That's where my identity lied. How do you think? And as an adult, I had a hard time processing that and walking through that. So what do we have to do? We need to come alongside our children and teach them who they are, whose they are, and that they have a very specific purpose in God's kingdom. And so they don't have to love and feel accepted, but they can walk through, they can accept the others. There are so many different things. And I'm kind of getting into a place where it's not my area of expertise. So I'm going to kind of come back just a little bit, because that's where a good Christian counselor comes in. But teaching these children that, your love and acceptance comes from God and God alone. And we can love these people and help our friends. They can help their friends walk through this with complete love, and not having to conform to the world. That's what I'm trying to say. Friends, I know this is a hard topic, and I have no doubt I ticked some people off today. And I want you to know that this did not come from a heart of condemnation. This did not come from a heart of, laying blame. This comes from a heart of, we as a society are failing our children. We as a society are allowing social media. We are allowing their peers. We are allowing YouTube. We are allowing, these gaming systems to shape who they are. And that is not okay. And again, I'm telling you, I'm teaching you from the trenches here. If my kids were young right now, like if I would have been going through some of these identity crises with my kids, some of the things that are going on now, I wouldn't have handled it right. I really wouldn't have. So this is me coming to you and saying, hey, let's step back for a second. Let's lean into God. Let's go to Him for our wisdom, our knowledge, our clarity, our revelation. Let's go to Him for the way we need to walk it out. Right? Let's get into the Bible. Let's teach our children that they don't have an identity crisis, that they are children of God, wonderfully made to serve a specific purpose in His kingdom. Let's teach our children that. Let's come together as parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, loved ones, and teach our children those things, right? Let's walk this out. So friend, again, real quick, prayer, teaching our children their identity, getting into the Bible, getting into the Bible and on learning the character of God. And number 4, getting a good Christian counselor on board to help you walk through this. Yeah. Can I be honest with you about something? So I this is my second day recording this, or recording this section of it. I finished yesterday and I sat with it for a while. I don't know why my voice is going out. I have no idea. I sat with it for a while and I slept on it. And I woke up this morning because I started having doubts, right? And I knew where they were coming from. I knew it was Jesus, or excuse me, Jesus. It was not Jesus. I knew it was Satan putting doubts in my head. And I just wanted to make sure that this is what I needed to talk about today. And when I woke up this morning with a fire in me again, when I woke up this morning, I really felt God saying, all right, now let's clarify how to do this. Let's not just say, hey, we're doing it wrong, but let's say and show how to walk through it. So I'd love to hear from you, friends. And by the way, I would love for you to, because I know someone needs to hear this today. I feel that even if it's just one person, I know that someone needs to hear this message. And if you need to, play it over and over again. And I would love for you to share it, screenshot it, share it on your favorite social media account. Text it, take the link and text it to your friends and say, hey, listen, you need to listen to this. We need to stand up as parents. We need to stop giving quote unquote, excuse me. I have no idea why this is happening. I think it might be the pollen outside. I don't know. But anyway, we need to stop quote unquote giving our children participation trophies because we think we think they need to be shielded from pain and heartache, because it's not doing them any good, guys. It's not doing our children any good. They've got to learn how to walk through these things. So friend, listen, again, I'd love for you to subscribe wherever you are listening. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to give me a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe as well. I'd love to hear your comments. And by the way, if you need prayer, listen, I believe in the power of prayer, and I believe that we have to come together and stand in prayer together. So send me a DM or send me an email at tammy@footprintsofinspiration.com and let me stand in prayer with you, my friend. No judgment, just prayer. Prayer that we get clarity and wisdom. Prayer that we learn to stand strong when everything in this world feels like it's going away from the word, right? So friend, listen, I really appreciate you showing up today. I hope this episode blessed you. And I will see you back here next week for another episode of A Faithful God Podcast.